Everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. This week, I want to focus on something kind of opportunistic. When I say that, sometimes these What's Up Wednesday topics come from something either fresh in my mind or something that's occurred recently. And just in the past month or two, I've seen a couple of circumstances or situations where I've seen a tenured safety professional, somebody with experience, somebody with credentials, interview for a job and completely blow it for a number of reasons. One, professionalism, which is not the purpose of this What's Up Wednesday. The other is technical competency. And I want to focus a little bit on that today because I think it's a really a key topic. And honestly, in 370 of these What's Up Wednesdays or whatever number this is, I don't know if I've ever covered this topic, continuous education, growing, continuous growth. What I've seen over almost 30 years in the safety industry is a lot of people will get their training, their degree, their certifications, whichever direction they go, OSHA Training Center, certs, college education, whatever it may be to enter the safety profession. And then so many of them just stop. Okay, I got what I need. I'm done. I'm not taking more training. I'm not going to continue to update. And before they know it, they get passed by. And I know as an example, focusing on myself, at one time I consider myself a fall protection, personal fall arrest system expert. I did training on equipment, on use of equipment, on anchorage points, on connectors. And one of the pieces of equipment that really developed during the early part of my career was the self-retracting lifeline, or what they call a self-retracting device today. And at one point, I really knew my stuff with that device. But since I've been out of the space I was in at the time, and I'm not focusing on that daily, 15 years, 18 years since I was really living in that world every single day, it has passed me by and it has become so technical that I just am not a subject matter expert in that area anymore. So, what we find is that people interview for a job and maybe they don't have the technical competency. So, as an example, they're interviewing with an owner for a data center job, and the owner representative who's screening them asks whether they have specific electrical experience, different types of mission critical or data center hazards that they run into on a regular basis. And then maybe even ask that person to talk a little bit about how the role differs between the owner safety rep, a general contractor safety professional, and then a specialty or subcontractor professional. And it amazes me that people get an opportunity to interview for one of those roles and then they don't prep for it. So that's one thing, is prepping, making sure you're familiar with what you're going to be asked and you're scripted to some extent. And then during that interview, obviously being very professional. I've seen examples where people have come in almost arrogant and it became very apparent very quickly they didn't know their stuff. So the other thing I want to really point to is the criticality of, it's any profession, but I'm going to focus on the safety profession, of continuing to educate ourselves. Now, for anybody out there working for any company, there's a high probability that company has a learning management system of some kind. Oftentimes, they utilize the tool provided by their insurance broker or the insurance carrier. Sometimes they have their own LMS, but take those courses. They may seem menial, they may seem elementary, but take that bloodborne pathogen course, take that fire prevention course, take that lockout, tagout, electrical safety awareness course, the fall protection course. It doesn't hurt to continually update ourselves and educate ourselves. If we don't do that, we're getting passed by, we're falling back. So I really, really encourage people to focus on continually learning, relearning, updating, staying apprised of what's going on. And I mean, if you know you're going to interview for a job that, let's just say there's a lot of trenching and excavation work that's going to be going on, and you know that ahead of time. And hopefully, if you're interviewing, you have an idea who you're interviewing with and what the key issues are going to be. In the case of trenching and excavation, go to the OSHA standards, update yourself on what the requirements are. So when they ask you what's a trigger depth of of an excavation at which you need to provide shoring or some kind of protection. You should be able to answer these questions. They're fairly elementary questions, but we run into people struggling and fumbling with trying to answer those questions. And very quickly, that interviewer loses confidence in that person, and that opportunity is gone. And as we know, opportunities can sometimes be very hard to come by. So I really encourage people to think about that. Just because we've gotten a degree, just because I have a CSP, just because I've achieved this or that, it doesn't mean anything if I'm not continually improving myself and growing and learning. Because, like I said, the industry will pass us by just like that if we're not keeping up. And getting complacent, sitting back, and not focusing on those things is call it career suicide. Maybe that's too extreme, but either way, it's just really, really important to continually update yourself. Even if you don't need CEUs, focus on them. Go through courses. Take as much as you can to continue to kind of polish, update, and improve yourself, and it will benefit you greatly. If you're going to interview, especially if somebody's setting an interview up for you, I would highly encourage you to ask that person if they're willing to prepare you for that interview with some of the information that you might need, some of the questions you may be asked, and really just establishing an opportunity for you to be successful. Because again, opportunities can be really hard to come by. So we got to make the best of the ones we get. So hopefully that's helpful. It resonates. I've seen a predominance of this issue recently, which is why I wanted to address it. But continuous improvement, continuing education, absolutely paramount. We'll see you next Wednesday.